Hi everyone, this is DeFi Dad. I'm going to walk you through a tutorial today on how you can earn yield as a market maker on Curve Finance. And one of the pools actually in particular offers me the ability to earn lending interest as well. So I'm going to focus on those two different dynamics: how to earn yield by lending, or basically holding interest earning tokens, and then also the ability to make money off of market making fees. So if I go to curve.fi, at its core, this is a stablecoin DEX. This is the ability to be able to trade between different stablecoins. So you can see DAI, USDC, Tether, TrueUSD, Binance USD, Synthetics USD, and PAX. I can trade between any of these. Why would I do that? Well, there's different utility to these stable coins depending on what markets you're looking at in DeFi. A good example is last week there was, at one point, I think there was 10 to 18% interest that was being earned on Tether. And so if I start out with USDC and I want to get Tether, I can go here and let's say trade 1,000 USDC for 998 Tether. So the rate is almost 1-to-1. And that's what's really powerful about Curve Finances. 1-to-1 exchange rates between stable coins, little slippage, and whatever would arguably be the best rate that you can possibly get. Okay, so on the other side of this equation is what's referred to as liquidity providers. So this is someone who is willing to deposit their stable coins into Curve and allow traders to trade between them and to earn the percentage that's paid for each trade as they do these swaps between, let's say, DAI and USDC and Tether and so on. So I can come here and I can deposit 100 DAI. I will end up then with a certain share of the pool. You can see here on the left-hand side that there are 4 different coins in this pool. The pool in total has almost 14 million in stable coins, but there isn't an even distribution because there's different demand for these different stable coins. So DAI, there's only 4.57% versus Tether has 34.55%. Also, this reflects different amounts of liquidity for these different stable coins on the Ethereum network. And I would say Tether is the most liquid stable coin at this point, but DAI also is always in demand. So it's no surprise here that DAI is the smallest portion of the pool. So here on the right-hand side, you can see my own share of the pool. And this reflects the percentages over here on the left. But I currently have 1,526, actually, I guess a better number here is $1,527 worth of stable coins. And the split between them represents the percentages you see on the left in the pool. So I own 0.011% of the pool, which means I have about 70 DAI, about 594 USDC, about 527 Tether, and about 334 TrueUSD. I have the ability to withdraw my share of the pool at any time. So, what's cool here is, I can earn yield on these stable coins, which is essentially a market maker fee, and I can withdraw it when I want. Okay, so now that I understand how Curve Finance works and how I can earn fees as a market maker and potentially as a lender if I'm holding interest-bearing tokens that are being traded in these pools, I'm going to choose between Compound, PAX, Y, BUSD, and SUSD. Those are the 5 different stablecoin pools that I want to consider and rank which one is going to be worth me depositing my stablecoins into. The way I'm going to do it is I'm going to think about what are the tokens that are in each one of the pools. So in this case, the compound.curve.fi pool has DAI and USDC. So it's only DAI and USDC versus other stable coins. The other way I'm going to do it is consider what is the APY, annualized percentage yield. That could be from the pool having started, which in this case for compound.curve.fi started around February 27th. So that annualized percentage yield over the course of that many months, with it being now June, folks have averaged 5.37% as a return if it were annualized. I'm also going to consider the other numbers here, like what is the weekly APY, what's the monthly APY, just because it gives me a sense of whether or not some of these pools have been doing better or worse. Okay, so the first pool, compound.curve.fi, it's just DAI and USDC. I'm good with that. The annualized percentage yield is 5.37%. I mean, without anything to compare it to, that sounds fine. It's also a lot more than what my bank pays me. Next up, I'm going to look at the USDT.curve/fi pool. So this is a pool where it is 6.44% is the annualized percentage yield since about February 11th. So a little bit better than the other pool, but I have to be willing to have exposure to Tether. So it's DAI, USDC, and Tether. Let's assume I'm okay with that. I'm willing to have exposure to Tether, and hence the higher percentage yield I think wins out here. Also, the weekly APY, so the APY according to the yields that were being averaged last week was 16.66%. Up above here, it was around 15.46%. So they're pretty even. No big difference here. Then we go to the Y pool. The recent weekly APY was 60.33%. So this is much larger. This pool has been around since about the same time, early to mid-February. Let's see, what else? The total APY is 11%. So that was compared to the 5 and 6%. And this pool means that I have to have exposure to DAI, USDC, Tether, and TrueUSD. This one, to me, so far is the clear winner. And this is a pool that I actually lend my stable coins to regularly. So I'm happy with that. Then there's the BUSD curve pool. This is a newer pool that started, actually, no, not that much newer. It's February 28th. But let's see, the annualized percentage yield since then is 10.79%. That's pretty close to the Y pool. So that's really competitive. Last week it was around 30%. So that's half of the Y pool. So no doubt last week the Y pool was getting more trading volume and performing better in general for earning market making returns. So I guess considering all of that, I guess recent monthly APY is 10.43%. Up above, it's 16.22%. So I'm gonna definitely continue to rank the Y pool as my top choice. And then the last one here is the Synthetics USD pool. This one has exposure to DAI, USDC, Tether, and synthetic US dollar. Oh, one other thing in the other pool that we just looked at with Binance dollar, you had to be willing to have exposure to that Binance USD. So that's the Binance digital dollar type token. And again, maybe someone doesn't want exposure to that. And if they don't, that eliminates that pool for me because I don't want exposure or to ever, let's say, touch one of these tokens. So back to the synthetics pool, I have to want exposure to DAI, USDC, Tether, and the synthetics US dollar. And if I'm okay with that, this is a newer pool. It started around April 21st. The weekly APY last week was very high, so 22%, but that's lower than the 30% for the Binance dollar, lower than the 60% for the Y pool. And the recent monthly APY also is not as high as the ones that I found up above here. Oops, here we go. 10.43% on the Binance dollar, 16.22% on the Y pool. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and eliminate this. However, one thing that I'm leaving out of the equation, this Synthetics USD curve pool, there are additional returns that are yield farming or whatever you want to call it, LP rewards that Synthetics offers. So if I were to do this, I can take the tokens I receive for being a liquidity provider and I can stake them with synthetics at minter.synthetics.io, and I will earn additional like rewards or funds from having done that. So to keep it simple today, I am going to go ahead and work with the Y pool. So let's go ahead and move on to that next step of how do I deposit my stable coins into the y.curve.fi pool. All right, I'm ready to start earning with Curve, and I'm going to deposit my DAI into the Curve pool. So you'll notice here, what I've done is below, I'm not worried about adding all coins in a balanced proportion just because I don't have any Tether or True USD. So normally it would, if I were to do this, it would require then that it would pull from my balance in my wallet, and I don't have these. So that's not an option. Using the maximum amount of coins available, I could do that, but I don't want to. So I'm going to add 0 USDC, and I'm going to add 100 DAI. And then I don't want to put in an infinite approval. Infinite approval means that in the future, I would not have to do 2 transactions here. I wouldn't have to come back to this and give approval to move my tokens. I can basically give an infinite approval. It's not something that I think is wise with DeFi applications, because if somehow someone maliciously gained control of those smart contracts, they would then be able to drain my wallet of any of the, let's say, DAI tokens, because I had given infinite approval. So I'm only going to give approval to move 100 DAI. And then depositing wrapped tokens, I have DAI. If I had Y DAI, that's what's referred to as wrapped. So most everyone is going to start out with just DAI. So let's click deposit. All right. You'll notice I'm going to receive 96 Curve iEarn LP tokens. Those are the tokens that I receive because I am lending my tokens to Curve. And so the way that normally works is you receive a token in exchange. It's kind of like an IOU. And then in terms of my gas, let's just check here. So I am looking up on my phone, ETH gasstation.info. And yeah, it looks like I could get the transaction through if it was as little as 22 Gwei. So that's a smaller gas price. Actually, maybe what I'll do is I'll just kick it up just to be safe. We'll do 23 and we'll hit save. Okay, so I'm spending as little ETH as possible on this transaction. And oh, one last thing. I'm giving permission to just move 100 DAI. So I'm not doing the infinite approval, just 100 DAI. All right, so my transaction has gone through to approve the 100 DAI being spent. So I'm going to click deposit. There we go. So let's see, I'm checking ethgasstation.info on my phone one more time. Yep, and it looks like 22.5 Gwei will be just fine. Let's see, anything else to take into account? I think the one thing to note here is just that I'm going to spend 0.03 gas, so 0.03 ETH. That is equivalent to $8.19. This is because gas prices are still high on Ethereum. That means that if I'm depositing an amount of money, like let's say 100, 100 DAI here, if I anticipate earning less than 8 DAI during the time frame I'm going to deposit this, this doesn't make any sense, and I should abandon this. So you got to think about how long am I going to hold these tokens in Curve, and how long am I going to have a time frame to earn, and does that exceed what I'm paying in gas? Also, does it make sense in terms of the risk? I'm putting up 100 DAI. What if I need to withdraw that DAI for like a bill that I need to pay? If that's the case, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But in my case, it does make sense. So I'm going to go ahead and push through this transaction. All right, here we go. We hit confirm. Okay, so I'm back about 10 to 15 minutes later, and my transaction went through. So I've lent another 100 DAI into the curve pool. And again, that was the Y pool. So if we go here to the transaction, you can see that I deposited 100 DAI. That DAI was converted into Y DAI, and then that was actually split across uh, Y USDC, Y Tether, and Y True USD. And then what I walk away with is I've got these curve.fi LP tokens. So I've got 96.8 of those. And that makes sense because each one of these LP tokens is worth interest plus the value of the original stable coin. So they're each one of them is a little more valuable, in other words. So it makes sense that I would walk away with less than 100 of these. And if I go back to curve.fi/I earn/deposit, I can go below here to see my share of the pool has increased by just a little bit. And I went from 1,526 to 1,626 in terms of USD balance. So yeah, those tokens are now in the pool. I'm going to go ahead and earn with those. In the future, if I would like to withdraw these, I can just go here to the withdraw tab. Again, that's curve.fi/I earn/withdraw. And you can choose to withdraw whatever percentage you'd like. Another thing is that, so this is newer to the curve pool, is you have the option to withdraw in whatever combination you'd like. So I could just, this is standard, to go ahead and withdraw all of these tokens, and I wouldn't pay any sort of like exchange fee because I'm withdrawing what is mine that is already in the pool. However, I could say, let's go ahead and withdraw it all in DAI, or let's withdraw it in USDC, and then I can choose what percentage of that liquidity I want to draw. It's very flexible. You know, I could say, hey, let's withdraw 50% of my liquidity. We'll leave the rest of it, and I'm going to withdraw it in USDC, or I'll withdraw it in DAI, and that's it. I would click withdraw, and that's how it works. So, you know, that's the magic of these DeFi applications, and being able to be in control of your assets and withdraw them whenever you want. So that's really it. I hope this is really helpful. I think this is one of my favorite DeFi apps to use, just because the risk for me is limited to smart contract bugs. So I could potentially buy smart contract cover on something like nexusmutual.io. The thing about smart contract bugs is, I mean, no matter what audits there are, it's something that I always live with. The fact like this is the number one risk that I have to worry about, because if someone suddenly could drain, if someone finds a bug and that bug, let's say, allows funds to be drained, I mean, that's putting at risk all of my funds. Um, Okay, so there's that. And then the other thing is the peg for these stable coins. If that were to fail, that would create a lot of chaos for me. I could see if the peg failed, let's say on any one of these, I would imagine that people would be trading these stable coins to the other ones that had not failed. And so it would be like a race against time to get your coins out and to get your coins into the coin that was not failing, or, you know, is causing all of this chaos. So those are the two top things I think about, and I consider those before I ever deposit any of my own money, and whether or not I'm willing to risk that capital. Okay, I hope this is helpful. Let me know if you have any questions, and have a great day.